Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Drs. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Callan Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday. If you're a first-time viewer, it is a live show. It's a live call-in show in which we talk about something particular regarding your health and invite you to call in and ask questions regarding that or anything regarding your health, because this whole show is all about helping you learn to live a healthier lifestyle. You see our phone numbers on the screen, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. You can call your question in to our producer and they will pass it along to us. Now, something that everybody's been take supplements for one thing or the other. Your friends tell you should be taking this for this, or you should be taking this for this, or whatever. And not all supplements are created equal. And that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. What is the difference between a lot of supplements and, as far as getting supplements here or getting supplements here or getting supplements or whatever. So they aren't created equal, are they?
No, they're not. And we get a lot of questions. I mean, we really do. Because people ask us, is it the same if I go get it here? Well, no, usually not. It depends on what it is. There's a lot of good supplements out there, not just ours. But they are definitely not created equal, and there's a lot of different things that are different about different types of supplements. The first thing we were going to talk about is when you go to buy raw materials, ingredients, the materials that are in the supplements. When you go to get a raw material, you may actually have 10 grades of the same exact thing. And people don't realize that. Just like anything, there's different grades. And of course, the better the grade, the more it costs normally. And so, but the lower grades in supplements tend to be ones that they can't clean as well. They have more contaminants. Things like that. So people don't think about when you buy the cheapest thing you can find, you are getting the cheapest thing out there. And it's not necessarily what you want to put in your body. So we always say, would you go get recycled oil or oil that had contaminants to put in your car? No, people want better stuff because you want your car to run better. Same thing with the person.
Most people take better care of their car than they do their body.
They do.
I mean, they really do.
It's true. This is true.
Yeah.
Kind of sad, but it's true.
And I remember we've talked about this before several years ago. The networks did a story about supplements that you buy in the big box stores.
Yeah.
And that a majority of the ingredients in them weren't what it was filler stuff.
Some of those things were, yes, that it wasn't always what it said on the label. And that's another one of the problems with the quality of supplements.
Right.
Some of the companies out there don't always necessarily have third-party testing to see if what it says on the label is what it is in the bottle.
Yeah.
And if it's only 20% of what the label says, you're not getting much. And a lot of times the fillers are just ground up grass.
I was going to ask you, what kind of fillers are we talking about?
Anything.
Everything.
Everything.
Depends on what it is. Several years ago, they did I think one of the studies you're talking about, they took St. John's wort. It's a green, herb type thing, okay? And they took it off the shelves, and majority of them didn't have anywhere near the amount of active ingredient, the hypericin, that you normally would get there. And what they found in some they weren't sure what it was, but it was something green.
Right.
And so they didn't know exactly
Grass.
what it was. Yeah, who knows? But you ground up something green, so you think, oh yeah, it looks right, and that's happened. It is recently, another one of the big companies has started doing that, where they've actually went to they've just been shopping, go to the health food stores, and they pick up stuff and they take it back to the labs, analyze it, and they have found that, okay, it may have X in it, but it doesn't have as much as it says on the label. So if you're buying something and you want 100 milligrams of X, but you're only getting, say, 50 or maybe 40, you're paying way too much for something that you're not getting what you pay for, right? Basically,
and it's not going to work for you.
No, it doesn't work.
It's probably not going to work.
How many times I suggest something to someone, and they say, "Oh, I've tried that." Well, where'd you get it? And they tell me, and I said, "Well, maybe try one that is more pharmaceutical grade."
Right.
And then they do it, and they say, "That worked. How come the one I took before didn't work?" Well, it may not have even been what it said. It may not have had half of what was the dosage. And when it comes to dosage, a lot of people, even when you compare, you're not actually paying less. I've had people look and they're like, oh, well, it's only $10 here and yours is 40. And I'm like, yeah, but it's 50 milligrams, 30 in a bottle, as opposed to 100 milligrams, 90 in a bottle. So actually, ours is way cheaper, because if you times that by 6, it's $60 for, the same exact milligram, even if it was the same thing. So a lot of times things are packaged to make it look less expensive, but it has lower milligrams, lower capsules in a bottle, and that does make a difference. And people don't look at that. People look at just the name and say, oh, here's this. They don't think to compare.
Right.
What you got to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And so people don't compare it. And so it does make a difference when you look at things like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, when it comes to the quality is the biggest thing you want to look at. And I tell everybody, if you look at a supplement and it has dye in it, do not buy it.
A lot of you can do
Is it the red dye number 3 or something?
Right.
Or
Well,
four,
so
or-
many places dye their supplements, and it's more about look
Yeah.
and marketing than
Well,
it is about health.
A lot of times, and we've actually had customers come back to us and say, well, this bottle of your stuff doesn't look the same as it did last time. It's a different color.
Yeah, it's going.
Yes, but it's a natural compound. So, okay, I can't tell you what say for instance, I can't tell you exactly what color a particular ingredient is going to show up. This is the ingredient, it's what it is.
They'll be
can't guarantee the
similar,
color.
but they won't be the
Right.
exact same color because it's not dyed. And a lot of places dye their supplements in order to keep it uniform.
Right.
And you don't want that. There is nothing beneficial for your health to dyes.
Now, so far they haven't checked any of the dyes and found any health benefits from them. So we don't.
Just
go there.
makes it pretty.
It makes it pretty, but
Right.
we don't go there simply for that reason. And you'll find a lot of the big manufacturers, people that do that. Well, we use a lot of people who have been in our stuff shop understand we carry other brands beside ours, but they're what they call physician-only brands. Like, for instance, Pure Encapsulation, Thorne Research, that kind of thing. They only sell to doctors, so they know that if a doctor's buying from them, they're going to be a little bit picky. And they want to make darn sure that if I say this has got so-and-so in it, and I give it to a patient, and I continue giving it to a patient, it's going to be the same thing every time. So the patient gets the same results every time.
Right. Because if you do change, we do lab work, and the whole thing is to do your lab work, see what changes it, and
Right.
you want to keep that change. You want the supplements you take to be very consistent, and very consistent in order to keep that same result.
Right.
All right. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, we're talking about, are all supplements created equal? We'll be back and talk more about that in just a moment. And welcome back, our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. We're talking about supplements, and are all supplements created equally? What is the process? I mean, with your, I don't care about the big box store stuff, but what is the process? All your stuff is pharmaceutical grade. And,
Right.
and talk about telling the difference. Remember here a few weeks ago, we did the segment on the memory and the I can't remember the supplement. There's a big long name for the supplement that helps up your memory. Well, I started taking that, and I have noticed a
Oh,
difference.
CDP.
CDP choline, yeah.
I have
CDP
noticed a
choline.
difference within the past week.
Good.
Yes.
Because I know it takes a couple weeks for it to
It
kind
takes
of.
It does make a difference.
But
it
I have
really does.
noticed quite a bit of difference.
Good.
Now, on that specific product that you're taking, it is actually a patented raw material.
Right.
And that makes a difference too. A lot of times the research is done on a patented raw material, but yet other people go out and get the raw material that's not patented because it's cheaper. But that was the one the research was done on, and that one, and the way it absorbs and the way it was put together is the reason it works. And like in the CDP, ours is called Cognizin, which is a patented raw material.
It is raw.
So technically, anybody that has Cognizin, if it has, should have the same thing in the capsules. So, and that one does work really well, but it is a patented ingredient.
Yeah, it does.
And collagen is one of those things that we see a big difference with the patented collagens.
Right.
There's collagens that, I mean, every time you source it, it can come from a different area. Like when you source something, I mean, you can say, okay, I can't find it here, so I'll get it here. If it's patented, it has to come from the same place. It has to come from the same, even the collagen, one of the ones we've carried for years, Arthread, it has to come from the same herd of cows in Germany. Right. So, I mean, it's that specific. So
Yeah, that's
you
pretty
get very specific
Wow.
about where things come from. When
Live on,
you have-
live on a certain side of the mountain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on a certain side. Yeah.
and a
Good
lot
shot.
of the stuff that we do is not everything, but a lot of stuff is the patented ingredients.
Right.
Like our DIM, big difference in the way it works because it is.
That's a big selling item for y'all.
It is.
Oh, it is.
And DIM, people say, I got it from over here and it didn't work. And I was like, well, was it BioResponse? And BioResponse is a patented DIM. And they're like, well, no, it doesn't say that. Well, if it,
And that's the one all the research is done on.
and that's what all the research is done on.
But-
And he has a proprietary way he does it for absorption because DIM is hard to absorb from the stomach. And so they went through big processes to figure out how to absorb it. And a lot of these nutrients aren't absorbable unless they have certain things done to them or certain
Processes.
things like I think DIM has vitamin E and it has other things with it for absorption.
Right. But to your question, the process we go through, we decide we're going to do something. We get the formula in our head or on paper, and we say, okay, this is what we want to wind up in product. So we start sourcing raw materials. Now, again, like she said, there's all sorts of raw material sources, and I probably get 10 emails a day from somebody selling various raw materials. And some of them are some of the reliable people, some a little questionable. All of a sudden they've got 40 kilos of something that like's really hard to get. Like 40 kilos, that's a lot of that stuff. But anyhow, so we source it out and we say, okay, this is the raw materials we want, and you go to the raw material manufacturers, and they will send you what they call a COA or a certificate of analysis and a sample, and we send it out to a lab, have it checked, and said, okay, is this what they say it is? It's either yes or no. And if it's no, okay, you don't buy it from them. If it's yes, okay, fine. We'll take 2 kilos or 4 kilos or whatever we need for this formulation because we have to make up a certain batch of it. It can't just make one bottle of pills. It's usually hundreds of thousands of capsules. But needless to say, we come up with this formula. We source the raw materials. We get to COA. We know that, okay, this is what we've got, what we're supposed to have. The raw materials come in. When they hit the manufacturer, when our blender or guy that puts it together for us, they take a sample of that raw material. Even though they've got a COA, even though they sent us a sample before, they take a sample, send it back out to an outside lab and say, okay, verify that this is X. If it comes back, sure, good, you're good to go, okay, fine, now you can start putting it together. If it's not, you cancel that raw material, send it back. You're done. You have to find another source. So then once you get everything all that done, which can take a little time, as you might guess, then you say, okay, let's blend it all together. And it's about the blending process. If it's got more than one ingredient in it, you want to make sure that all these ingredients are blended together so that when you put it in a capsule, the capsule's got, if you got 100 milligrams of this and 50 milligrams of that.
That was going to be my question. How do you determine the dosage that goes in? I mean, because some capsules are bigger and some are tiny. And
Well, no, you have to use a capsule according to how much is in it.
Right.
Like the size of the capsule is determined by how much is in each capsule.
How much bulk each
Yeah.
raw material carries with it.
Right.
And then if they mix up a batch and it has this much in it and it should have that much, if it ain't blended well, it's not going to be as equal, but it should be.
Yeah.
And
And then you take this, once you get your finished product, another sample goes back to the lab.
to see if it
Yeah.
really is the right amounts of each thing.
Right.
Wow.
So they take a capsule and say, okay, if it's supposed to have 100 milligrams of X, 50 milligrams of Y, so many milligrams of Z, then they make sure that's what it's got. If it doesn't, we get back to our blender and say, okay, and he knows or she knows when they're blending it in the lab, they've already verified this. I mean, they go through some pretty strict rules of how they blend it. They know they've done this stuff for years, so they know what to do. And they put it all together. Then we can finally put it in a capsule, put it in a bottle, stick a label on it, and boom, we've got a product. So it's not an overnight process.
Right. And if you don't do all the testing, then of course it is cheaper. I mean, it really.
Oh yeah, we could bypass that process.
Cut corners, as they
You
say.
could
Yep.
cut corners. You could say, oh yeah, okay. The raw material guy said, yeah, it was good. Say, okay, good to go.
That's why there is so many products when they test doesn't have what it says because
Right.
it's not tested and doesn't have all those steps. So
Because those labs that you send it out to charge you each time you send them a sample to verify.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
And
sure.
And this runs, $300 to $600 per item. So if you got 3 items,
Because you don't know how many times, and this happens over and over and over. One reason we decided to do the show and let people know, people need to know what they're buying. We actually have people that get our stuff according to lab work. We recheck the lab work, worked great, brought down the level. They come back in 6 months and it's right back where it was. And I'm like, are you not taking what we gave you? Oh no, I'm taking it. I'm like, okay, where'd you get it? And it's always, I went and got it from somewhere else, big box store. It was cheaper, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
You're buying nothing. You're wasting your money at that point. So it is not the same, but we deal with that every day.
Yeah.
We do. And we see from lab work that it does not always work either.
I think
Yep.
the only thing that I take from a big box store in my daily regimen of supplements that I take is a baby aspirin.
Okay.
And you probably get that from,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll take a question in just a moment. We're going to take a break real quick though. 17 minutes after 9 o'clock, we're talking about are all supplements created equal? Hold on, we'll be right back, and with this week's special. It's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock, and it's our final segment this morning for our Doctor's Nutrition show. We've got our special of the week for you right now, which is
all of the Doctor's Nutrition multivitamins. Just ours, no, the Doctor's Nutrition, because we carry some others, but Doctor's Nutrition multivitamins, all of them, and we got a variety.
We got a variety of them.
We got from the one a day to you name it. I mean,
Megabytes
Yeah.
one, Megabytes lean, Megabytes
Yeah,
seniors.
Megabytes lean, Megabytes senior, Megabytes man, Megabytes woman, Megabytes.
yeah, prenatal, you name it,
all of the Megabytes.
Yeah.
So we have a multi for whoever needs a multi out there.
whatever you need.
And when it comes to, again, we're talking about the differences in vitamins, and like our biggest seller is our Megabytes 1, just because it has a high amount of the stuff that's in it.
That's what I think.
And you get 2,000 D, you get 500 B12, you get 25 zinc, you get 50 milligrams CoQ10, you get high enough amounts, because that is one of the problems with a lot of multis. You look, and there ain't nothing in it.
When we put that formula together, we have a guy who's a PhD in biochemistry. Worked with him for God, how long we worked with Roger?
All the years.
30 years probably. Super smart guy, and knows this industry inside and out. And when I told him what we wanted to do, he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, the people will only want one a day." He said, "We can't do that." I said, "Roger, we're going to do it." Okay, but this is how we're going to do it. So we put it out to him, and he looked at it, he said, "Well, this is kind of what you need, and he didn't tweak it much, because he said, "No, I think it's pretty good." He said, "It looks good to me." He said, "But it doesn't have calcium." "No, I don't want calcium, because if I got calcium instead of one a day, it's going to be 4 or 5 a day,
Right. And
takes up room.
if people need calcium, they can take it separately.
Take it separately,
So
right.
it is not high in some things, but it's very high in the things that it does have. So that's the good thing about that. But we have all the other ones that do have it. I mean, we do actually have our Megabytes Woman that has plenty of calcium.
Yeah.
Then we have, so every formula is different. We can
Right.
actually help people figure out what's best for them.
But that one a day
Yep.
has been our biggest seller
Oh, yeah,
since
it's-
we put it out. And
Right.
Roger still can't get over it, by the way. He shakes his head. He said, "I don't understand that one." I said, "Well, it's real simple. People take that one a day, and they can tell a difference.
Yeah.
It's got a big enough dose of B12, big enough dose of D. It's got everything in it. You've got a big dose of. You just don't have everything in it. But it's a nice one a day, fills in the gaps, stuff that you don't get in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And it's been one of our better sellers. It really has. Yeah.
Viewer with a question: is there anything you can do about pus, film, gunk, goo, ooze, liquid that isn't tears built up on the eyes?
Huh.
Usually, if you have pussy-like stuff in the eyes, it's usually, bacteria.
Conjunctivitis?
No, when you think about.
Well, yeah, it could be.
It could be,
I mean,
but it's more about bacteria. We do use colloidal silver,
Mm-hmm.
which is silver is an antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and it's very safe to put in the eyes.
Yeah, it
and
is.
So we have it in the dropper bottle where you just drop it in the eyes, and we have a lot of people that do the silver in the eyes just to keep that down.
And if I will say this now, if you have some bacteria or whatever that's causing that ooze or gunk or goo, whatever you want to call it, it's probably going to burn a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you can put it in both eyes just to make sure if you only got one that's doing that. And you'll see that the eye that you don't have the stuff in probably doesn't burn, very little. But the eye that's got the problem, it's going to be a little burning. And that tells you how well it's working, because the more you use it, the less burning you get when you put the drops in. And it's a good idea to do that if you got something like that going on.
And if it's too
2 or 3
severe,
times a
you
day.
probably need to go see your eye doctor.
Oh, yeah.
But just that crusty junk in
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people get that, and it's this colloidal silver does work good for that.
Works really well for that.
Of course, I'm dealing with situations,
Yeah.
floaters, which is what my eye doctor said, yeah, you're getting old.
I hate that.
Yep, that happens.
Yeah, you're aging, I'm sorry.
There's
I hate
there's
that.
something else we hadn't gotten to yet about sometimes the forms that supplements are in. And
Right.
it doesn't even if it is what it says and it's the best ingredient and everything else, there's different forms of different things. Magnesium is a good example because there's different forms depending on what you want to use for it. Citrate's better for if you're constipated. The threonate's better if you want it to cross the brain barrier and help the brain. The glycinate is also good for relaxation. The malate's better for the muscles. The taurate is also better for the heart. I mean, there's so many different kinds
It's
of
what that
the same
magnesium's
thing.
mixed with.
So there's everything it has a carrier. So like in magnesium, we have all of them, but it's different depending on what you want, and that's why we're there to help you figure out which one you need. And then in the B vitamins,
I would say
there's
B12 is a
actually B12 and folic acid nowadays. What they've found a genetic mutation that a lot of people, 40% of the population, probably cannot use your old form cyanocobalamin. And that is what's in most of the less expensive products. So the methylcobalamin is a better form. A hydroxycobalamin, I mean, a hydroxy is also good. Adenosol is also good. So there's a lot of different forms of the same vitamin. And that's what a lot of people.
Because for a while I was taking B12
Yep.
with the MTH.
Yep, which that is methyl.
And then, but then now I switched from that over to methylcore.
Yep, and that's
Which
just
is
has
still
more.
methylated,
It's
yeah.
still methylated B12, but it has more of the methylated folate, which is the 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. So forms are also different. So when you look at equality of supplements, when it comes to herbals, you can have an herb that's just a ground up herb, and it's still that herb, and it could even be the best kind of that herb. But if it's not a standardized extract, you may or may not have any active ingredient in it. Because when you look at standardized extracts, it tells you what percentage of active ingredient is in it. And of course, those things you have to concentrate the herb to get higher amounts of the active ingredient for the herb.
Mushrooms
Most
are a biggie on
most research is done on the standardized extracts.
Right.
So that's another thing. There's so many different things that you can look at when it comes to, is this the same as this? So they definitely are not created equal.
But to find out what's best for you, blood work.
Yes.
Talk about it all the time. Get blood
Well,
work
you know,
done. I get it done once a year just to check out. I've been under their tutelage for like 9 years now. 9 years now. And, I feel great. I really do.
Like I said, it's definitely that you got to know what you're taking,
Yeah.
and you got to take things that are therapeutic, because if you take something that's not therapeutic, you're really kind of wasting your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, on that. So,
Actually, a lot of people will come in and say, well, I have to take this because it's cheaper. Actually, it may not be cheaper, because if you're taking something that's not working, to me, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not
Exactly.
cheap.
Exactly.
Not working. Yeah.
We're about to wrap up this morning's show. Next week, of course, is the first Monday of the month, and we'll be Open Line Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
Talk about anything.
Whatever.
Any kind of questions you have regarding health issues or whatever, you are welcome to pick up the phone and give us a call. And also, you can go back and find some of the other shows on doctorsnutrition.com, and a lot of great information too on their Facebook page.
Yes.
And always remember, you don't need an appointment. You don't. You might have to sit around and sit there and wait for just a few minutes, but walk
very-
in.
not
Walk
very
in,
long
you're welcome.
usually.
Not very long. They do. They got between the two doctors here, and
Gotta
Comfortable.
go.
Gotta go.
Bye.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.